Tessa, because is your usual suspect. Welcome back to yet another live broadcast on your favorite football updates channel. It's a pleasure to be back once again on this Monday night / evening, depending on what your time zone is or what time it is. I know for a fact it's about 6 minutes past the hour of 9 p.m. To our comrades in the UK, while it is 6 minutes past the hour of 11 for our friends in Turkey, or Turkey as it is in Uganda. 1 hour, ahead of South Africa. So, every single one of you that does check in during this time, I do appreciate you for your love and support. Today we will be speaking once again at the FIFA World Cup qualifiers 2026 as match day. The second games kick-started today across different continents, particularly down here in Africa. And of course, in Europe, there are some games that did also get underway. Nonetheless, our primary focus will be on the Uganda Cranes. But before we get into the depth of all that, I wish to say thank you to all those that have recently joined the community, those that have signed, those that have joined the community, and our new subscribers. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to the community. I hope you do enjoy your stay here. Yeah, it will be a nice one. I was laughing at the comment. LFC did put live on our, on one of our videos that we did, publish on the channel, speaking about the new league format of the Uganda Premier League, speaking about, the Uganda Cranes as well, in the aftermath of that 4-0 victory against Mozambique previously. So yeah, it's what had me smiling. Then guys, please, for those of you that have managed to catch that interview, I know it appeals more to the Ugandan audience because it predominantly looks at Uganda. But don't worry, tomorrow the expectation is that I will be sitting down with the same gentleman, Aldrin Nsoga Senior, for our second interview that will focus. Of course, we'll get to discuss the result of the Uganda Cranes from tonight, having beaten up against Somalia. But then also we will get to digest the Premier League. If the time does allow us, he'll give us his season predictions, he'll give us his top 4 winners, and among other things. He's a man of expansive knowledge when it comes to that. So really, but for those of you that have managed to watch the video, thank you so much. Then also, yeah. Anyways, let's start things right from there, because Uganda Cranes, like I said, have beaten up against Somalia by 2-0. Those goals both coming in the first half, in as early as the 6th minute. Apologies, guys. I'd forgotten to test our audience. I had forgotten the routine. We normally never miss that. We never miss that. Just to make sure that everything is. Oh, okay. Looks like we're good. Looks like we're good. So, like I was saying, it's a bit of a tricky one in regards. Okay, yes, we're talking about the result in itself between the Uganda Cranes and Somalia. Alan Okello got off the mark as early as the 6th minute following an awarded penalty for a foul on what was his name? I'm forgetting. Why am I already forgetting? Anyways, there was a foul in the area in the 6th minute that saw Uganda be awarded a penalty, and he did step up. That's Alan Okello, as he did step up previously during the CHAN, or the African Nations Championships, and once again scored from the penalty spot, slotting that ball beyond the reach of the goalkeeper in quite spectacular fashion. So, it was a very brilliant start. Yes, it followed a foul on Aziz Kayondo, Uganda Cranes left back, before Alan Okello stepped up from 12 yards and slotted that ball into the back of the net to give Uganda Cranes a deserved lead against Somalia. To be honest, my expectation was that Uganda would have a better performance than they did have against Mozambique. That they would give Somalia quite the grabbing, because in any case, for those of you that did come into this fixture, you well knew that Uganda need some goals. They need to put goals on the board, because when you go to teams that are currently second in their respective groups, why Uganda is currently fifth is in part because of a goal difference. All the teams, majority of the teams that are ahead of it, do have uh, do have uh, do have what, a better goal difference, and that's sometimes it could boil down to that. So I thought they came into this game very well knowing the importance of that, and my hope was that my personal prediction was that they will beat up against Somalia by 3 goals to 0. Unfortunately, they could not hit that mark because they could only manage to score 2, with Jude Semugabi scoring that second goal in the 39th minute. Again, the Somali's goalkeeper is to blame for this one, in my opinion, because he should have done better to save the header. I think the header was by Rogers Mato, because the ball is floated into the area, and I think Rogers Mato heads it, and literally the goalkeeper parries it in the pathway there for the taking, for Jude Semugabi to latch onto it and then convert from a close range, and to give Uganda Cranes the 2-0 lead that they needed at the time, or that they managed to go into halftime with. The second half did not bear any fruits, regardless of Uganda Cranes' efforts. And basically, what that meant is that the game finished by 2 goals to 0 on the night. By the virtue of that result, it means that Uganda get to close slightly at the gap between themselves and Algeria, who are currently leading the pile in Group G, who have a tally of 19 points following a goalless draw between them and Guinea during their away trip to Guinea. And while Mozambique did beat up against Botswana by 2 goals to 0 to make sure that they are on equal points with Uganda, both at 15, but Uganda have a positive goal difference, while Mozambique have a negative 3 goal difference as things stand at the moment in that group, or in Group G. So yeah, basically that's the outlook of things. That's the outlook of things in as far as Group G is concerned. But again, it was overall a good performance from the Uganda Cranes. I don't want to take anything away from them, but like I said, given that it's Somalia. I mean, Somalia in any case are much lesser an opponent than Mozambique were in the previous outing. My expectation was that they would be perhaps able to score many more than they managed to post today in today's fixture. But that's the nature of football. Sometimes the games that you think are going to be obvious victories are the ones that come back to sort of bite you, or to give you all the sorts of headache. And you could look at it as that. Take an example. Maybe you remember a time when Liverpool put 7 plus Manchester United, and yet on another given day they will fail to score 2 against Crystal Palace. So that in itself is the nature of football, and there's nothing you can take away from that. That sometimes the game where you think you're going to be an obvious winner, it doesn't turn out to be that way. It doesn't turn out to be that way. It can easily turn out to be more difficult than you had anticipated. And I think basically it boiled down to that, as far as today's fixture was concerned, between the Uganda Cranes and Somalia. So yeah, really, that was basically a part of it. Then also, who among some of the key performers, again, I don't know. Okello is, of course, increasingly become a fan favorite. He's a guy that fans like to love on. Given his sort of consistent performances in recent times. Of course, for that game against Algeria during the CHAN, it wasn't the best of performances for him. He struggled in that game as Uganda Cranes were beaten 3 goals to 0. You remember in their opening fixture of the African Nations Championship. But I think he's since recovered well from all that downside, and he's had better performances. So I like the starting 11. I didn't change much, like we had almost predicted. My view was that maybe Kenneth Semakula would be, maybe given a rest to have somebody ahead of him, and I thought it was going to be either. I thought it was Travis Mutiawa that would come in for him in that role. But the only change that was made by Paul Put, that's the Uganda Cranes head coach, was Sebik coming in. Sebik did come in for uh, uh, Elvis Bomono, who had started at right back in the previous game against Mozambique, but Salim Jamal Magola retained his slot in goal. Elios Capradosi and Jordan Obita made the centre back pairing, while Aziz Kayondo was at left back, and then Sebi came in at right back. Kenneth Semakula, alongside the captain Khalid Aucho, got the nod in midfield, while Jutse Mugabi, who also scored in that first half alongside Alan Okello and Rogers Mato, completed that trio ahead of the double pivot, and then Stephen Mokwala leading the lines. So it basically boiled down to that. Among those that were given, a chance to come on were Joseph Mpande, Dennis Omedi, as well as Regan Mpande, that did come in there in that fixture, as Uganda Cranes won it by 2-0. Like I've told you, Uganda Cranes are currently remain second in Group G with Algeria at 19 points. So that means it's a 4 points difference when we have 2 match days to go. That means for Uganda to qualify directly, they need to win their last 2 fixtures and pray or hope that that Algeria lose both of their last 2 fixtures, or lose one and draw one, while Uganda remains perfect. Which it's not miracle ask, but usually the Uganda Cranes do not do well under pressure. When you do expect them to go out and win, they will draw. When you expect them to go out and pick a draw, they'll lose. It's been part of the nature of their behavior when it comes to some of these competitions. But anyways, we'll try to digest more on that result tomorrow, if we can get that time to sit down with Aldrin Sugar Senior for our episode. Hi Pedri, how are you doing, my brother? Good to have you. Okay. I'm good. How has been the going? How is your Monday evening? Anything new on your side? What's been exciting for you during the course of the international break? I know the international break, by its own nature, can be a bit of a dull period for most people, but I hope anything exciting in your regard when it comes to that. Because yesterday was it yesterday or the other day when Spain went on a rout against Turkey, we were busy sort of swooning over Mikel Merino's performance. Good, nothing new. International break, so annoying. By the way, surprisingly, I don't know. What happens is that people have been deemed unpatriotic because of these international breaks. I used to think that it's only with us, the fans, or like in terms of our own context, that maybe we do not look forward to some of these fixtures that much, but it's something that cuts across. I've seen many fans in Europe. I've seen journalists and pundits and things like that, express their sort of downside of the international break. There's a World League football, I think, gets the fire under our bellies. I think we are more attached to it than we are to our respective national teams, especially when it comes to qualifying competitions and minor competitions like the UEFA Nations League, like the African Nations Championships. So unless it's Africa Cup of Nations, unless it's the Euros, unless it's the World Cup, when it comes to international football, there's a way we are not quite there. My boy Pedri, my hero, scored twice. I love him so much. Yeah, he did score twice and provided an assist in that routing against Turkey. I mean, what a poor performance from Turkey, by the way, on the day. I do not think performances come any worse than that on any given day. Meanwhile, Switzerland are leading up against Slovenia. I think at the moment by 3 goals to nil. That game is well over, I think, the 77th minute, around there. So it's ongoing for those of you that care to watch some bit of international football. As much as you do not appreciate it, sometimes you ought to catch a glimpse of it. There's a Switzerland player that I used to love. One was Jadon Shaqiri, then of course Granit Xhaka, but also Brela Imbolo was the other player on that Switzerland player. And then is it Rodriguez who used to play at left back? So those are some of the players that I used to love on that side. But I think because of one, the number of games, it's more like that. Okay, I don't want to relate it to that. But for example, do you know the relationship between kids that are going to boarding school and being at home? Kids that are in boarding school spend more time at school than they do at home. So basically, fans spend more time watching league football or club football than they do with national teams. So I guess it's only understandable that sometimes they feel off-put when these qualifiers come. And guess what? In October itself, we're going to have, another international break. So it will be coming underway, I think, after the first week. Yeah, I think after the first week of October, around that period. So, yeah. Then Libya are currently leading up against Eswatini by 2 goals to nil in the other fixtures of the Africa Cup, of the, FIFA World Cup qualifiers. And then Ghana are leading Mali by 1 goal to 0. So yeah, then for the teams that are currently second best in their respective groups, it's Gabon with 18 points, and they've only played 7 games. Madagascar played 8 games. They are 16th. Senegal, they're second and have 16 points. Cameroon, Senegal, Uganda Cranes, those have played 7 and 8 games respectively, but they are all tied to 15 points, and that's why I was saying earlier on that goal difference is going to be very, very crucial. Then Burkina Faso follow, and Namibia, Benin, and Tanzania complete the pile of the teams that are currently second best in their respective 9 groups. Remember, the 9 teams will qualify directly for the FIFA World Cup 2026 that will be hosted in the USA, Canada, and Mexico. And then some of the second best teams will be involved. Those second best teams will be engaged in a playoff that may later include teams from Europe to determine whether Africa can get the 10th slot or it will be going over to Europe. So, there's that as well. Dennis Bonga is still the leading scorer. That's for Gabon with 8 goals, while Egypt's Mohamed Salah has 7 goals. Jordan Ayew of Ghana has 6. Kamori Doumbia from Mali has 6, as well as Mohamed Amoura from Algeria has equally 6 goals. So those are some of the key statistics that you need to know from those respective qualifiers. Among the other games still in the qualifications, as far as Europe is concerned, Kosovo are 2-0 up against Sweden. That's a bit of a surprise for me. Then Scotland are leading Belarus by 2 goals to 0, while Denmark are busy thumping Greece by 3 goals to 0. Italy and Israel, that game is close, but Italy are leading 3-2 at the moment. Then Croatia are up 2-0 up against Montenegro, while Gibraltar are 1 goal behind against the Faroe Islands. There among those fixtures for those of you that could be interested in knowing what's happening in as far as those games are concerned. I think I should catch a glimpse of on this game between Italy and Israel, because it must be really, really interesting Although Italy, by the way, ever since they won the Euros 2020, they've not been the same team, really. They've not been the same team. They've lost in recent years. I felt they've lost that grit, the roughness that came with an Italian team, the solid defending, and things like that. They've lost that. They've lost that in the last couple of years. In fact, Italy are leading now by 4 goals to 2. Looks like they are destined to win that fixture as things stand because Moises Kean has a brace, and then Politano is the other on target. I'm still trying to find out who has scored the 4th goal for the Italian national team, but looks like they are getting the result there against Israel, although it's not yet finished yet. Oh, I'm trying to see the goal scorer. I can see Sandro Tonali celebrating with his comrades. You know, but anyways, that's at that. Like I said, there's not too much news going around because usually when it's the international break, it's a bit dull in a way, one way or the other. Tadori coming on for Moises Kean there. Let me see if I can get to find out who the actual goal scorer is. A bit of a, I don't want to call it a lazy call, but Israel should have defended better, letting that pass be played between the two defenders. Okay. Who is shut 10? Raspadori? No, not him. But yeah, Italy yes, Raspadori is the goal scorer for that 4th goal for Italy as they seek to qualify for the World Cup. Let's see how their table standings look like. It's a group of 5 teams, and Norway lead the pile with 12 points after 4 games. Italy comes second with 9 points based on the current result. Then Israel have 9 points. Estonia have 3, and Moldova have 0. So you can see what that means in that regard. Let's have a look at the Italian national team kind of setup, what they have currently at the moment. Gianluigi Donnarumma, Alessandro Bastoni, and Gianluca Mancini, that's in the center back pairing, Giovanni Lorenzo, and Federico Di Marco. Surprisingly, Gennaro Gattuso, who is the new Italian national team manager, went with the 4-4-2 kind of system. Nico Barella, Manello Locatelli, Sandro Tonali, and Matteo Platone. Hi LFC, sorry I missed the start. It's okay. LFC, how are you, my brother? Matteo Rotegui and Moises Kean as at the tweet. I saw LFC. I saw your comment on our video with Aldrin Suga Senior. You are asking whether it's a new location. Well, it's a video we shot in a public place. It was a public place. We had to pay to shoot from there even, surprisingly, although most places do not charge. But yeah, we shot that on Sunday and we're out. And my hope is that I'll do another tomorrow with him about the Premier League. I was at a rugby training. Okay. My village? No. It's actually still within the capital, Kampala. It's a small place. I even forget the name. It's called Forest something. It's like a small park with a bit of a bar and gardens on the upper side. So yeah, that's where we shot the video. But it's still well within Kampala. How was the training? Did you tackle some people or did you get tackled by others? I remember going to one of our rugby grounds to watch the Moroccan team train when they had come for the Africa Rugby Cup that was played in Uganda, and a couple of, if not just slightly over a month ago or thereabouts. Otherwise, how are you doing, my brother? I hope you're okay. LFC. Then okay. Let's see. We need to Manchester City, training was sore due to the tired legs. I completely understand. I completely understand when it comes to that. But meanwhile, guys, LFC, let me put the question to you, because perhaps you have a bigger ear to the ground than I do. What's happening with Manchester City's 115 charges? I seem to remember at some point we had been promised that sooner or later we were going to get the verdict, but then it seems to have gone forever. What are they trying to cook? Are we bound to see the verdict? But as we wait for LFC to respond to that, let's talk Tottenham Hotspurs, because according to their CEO Vinay Vettishim, he says that Tottenham is not up for sale, as some media reports have alleged. Robert, best rugby player in Uganda, I would say Philip Wokorachi. Maybe, yeah. There were two brothers. Then there's a player called Mangom. Those are some of the very, very good players, but Philip Wakorachi is one of the good ones. Like I said, honestly, I do not follow the game of rugby that much, but we do have a domestic rugby league that has teams like the Cobs, Heathens, Impis. What are some of the other teams? There's a couple of teams that play in the Uganda rugby, league. So and those are some of the players. But for me, it's got to be Philip Wokorach that is one of the best players when it comes to that. It's actually called the Nile Special Rugby Premier League, in as far as we go. Yes, there's another team called Warukuba. It comes, I think, from Chinja. So yeah. Then Black Pirates, the league also goes on. It was one of the groups. Okay, let me see. You said it was kind of false news about Manchester City. False news, really? I mean, we're still waiting for the verdict on the 115 charges. The Premier League seemed to be taking forever to, give us the verdict of that. Possibly by the time it comes, we would have lost our appetite for the news in itself. It was one of the groups had settled, and the lawsuit against them. No. Yes, I know about the settlement that they've reached upon with the Premier League, but that's on a separate, that's on an entirely separate, dispute. And I remember that dispute was to do with because Manchester City were contesting the Premier League's rules on sponsorships that do come from entities that are sort of related to the club or have ties with the club. So, for example, Etihad is shirt sponsorship of Manchester City, yet we know the ties within the Qataris. In that sense, you get it. So, according to the Sky Sports Premier League, they did say Manchester City and the Premier League had reached a settlement on their dispute over the rules governing the associated party transaction, APTS. So that's the rule, because they say, for example, if you say PPL misread it, I think. So what basically is happening or has happened in this case, Manchester City, first of all, the Premier League, according to their findings, were saying that Manchester City had exaggerated or had unrealistic sort of sponsorship deals coming from some of their close ties. That of Etihad being one of those being questioned. And I think at the time it was to be estimated around, was it £60 million per season or something like that? I stand to be corrected on the actual figures, but as far as I try to remember, those were some of the figures that were being floated around. So do not take it for gospel truth. I stand to be corrected on those figures. But so now, when Manchester City was sort of caught with those rules, they went to court to challenge those rules of how unrealistic they had been. But let's see. So Manchester City and the Premier League have settled a dispute relating to the league's associated party transaction ATP rules. Legal action was separate to the one covering more than 100 charges against City for alleged breaches of the Premier League financial rules. City denied the charges. So you can see this is entirely separate from the 115 charges, like I was telling you. So that's it. Now, Manchester City have acknowledged that the Premier League is right. So, for example, what the Premier League tried to say is that they want to sort of look at overall market value. So, for example, if you say, let's say, LFC, you have a rugby team that you do play for or that you do own that is called LFC Rugby. And then LFC Rugby is tied to an entity or that entity is owned by the same owners or it's owned by you that is, let's say a coffee company called LFC Coffee. Now, what the Premier League is saying is that if LFC Coffee is going to be a shirt sponsor for LFC Rugby team, because the two entities are being owned by the same person, they do not expect an exaggeration of supposed, sponsorship deals. So, for example, if the market value of a shirt sponsorship oscillates between, let's say, 70 million pounds to as low as maybe 2 million pounds, depending on your stature in the Premier League or wherever it is that you are as a club. So they do not expect for you to come out and say, no, my shirt sponsorship deal is at the value of 100 million pounds, because then that's way over and above the overall or the average market value for a shirt sponsorship. So basically, Manchester City were caught on those rules, and then now they had gone to court to contest those very rules, and they have reached a settlement on that one. So I'm trying to find a statement now. In a statement, Manchester City said the Premier League and Manchester City have reached a settlement in relation to the arbitration commenced by the club earlier this year concerning the Premier League's associated party transaction APT rules, and as a result, the parties have agreed to terminate the proceedings. The statement further adds, this settlement brings an end to the dispute between the parties regarding the ATP rules. As part of the settlement, Manchester City accepts that the current APT rules are valid and binding. So that means they are acknowledging that the Premier League is well-meaning or right to be controlling some of these things, or the rule is okay. They are no longer contesting the rules. And it goes on to add that it has been agreed that neither the Premier League nor the club will be making any further comment about the matter. Then Premier League also released a statement confirming that settlement. And this is what the Premier League did say, that the Premier League and Manchester City have reached a settlement in relation to the arbitration commenced by the club earlier this year concerning the Premier League's associated, ATP rules, and as a result, parties have agreed to terminate proceedings. The settlement brings an end to the dispute, blah, blah, blah. Then, what about the 115 charges? That's the big question. That's the elephant in the room for me. Everybody is still waiting for a verdict on that. So we need to answer to that. What's happening with that? Now, we know that Manchester City and the Premier League still await the outcome of an independent commission hearing, which was examining the more than 100 charges, the 115, against the club for alleged breaches of financial rules. Charges, we know that these rules date to far back to as early as 2009 and until 2018, around that period of time. If we go back to 2009, I think it was Mark Hughes still in charge of Manchester City. So the hearing took place between September and December last year, after City were charged by the Premier League in February 2023. Now, again, this is why I'm questioning this. I mean, February 2023, 2024. It's been 2.5 years, and we still have no verdict on those on these charges. And yet, we know, according to Sky Sports, that the hearing did take place between September and December. So if the hearing was concluded, what's the verdict? If it was completed in December, why are we taking as many as 8 months to give a verdict? Now, I know that matters of law are not as straight as an arrow, as many of us would want them to be or even think them to be. But we should be getting a verdict by now. We should be getting a verdict by now. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And again, unless somebody explains it to me much better, why the delay, but we've been kept waiting literally for ages. So now, so let's wait and see. Anyways, what the verdict will be on those proceedings for the 115 charges for Manchester City when it comes to financial breaches that span a period of many years, almost 8-9 years thereabout. So, in that regard. Otherwise, guys, is there anything we've left out? Is there anything we've left out? I do not think so. I certainly do not think so. Oh, really? That'll be new. I don't know. I don't know if I'm getting this right or wrong, but is on Zidane. According to Sportsbible, Zidane has reached an agreement to join a European club. In what capacity? Really? Oh, Jesus Christ. It's nothing more than a clickbait. It's nothing more than a clickbait. I'd want to believe. Anyways, we will see. We will see in the coming days what that means. Otherwise, allow me, end it here. Thank you so much, Pedri, for sparing the moment to be with us. Thank you so much, LFC, for sparing the time to be with us on this beautiful Monday night. Like I said, we'll be back tomorrow morning, but also I'm looking forward to doing that second interview. If all the stars do align, it's one that I'm really looking forward to doing. I have so many burning questions to put to my interviewee in that regard when it comes to the Premier League, and particularly because he's a Liverpool fan, so I'm sure LFC should be looking forward to that interview. Like I said, a vote of thanks to all our new community members. I hope you do enjoy your stay here with us. For those of you that are watching our content, please continue to do so. We really love the love and support that you're giving us. Otherwise, have a blessed night, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye for now.